welcome to another episode of the Metro FM Off-Air podcast, where we go beyond the airwaves to share stories that matter. So today, we're talking about women driving change, yeah, and what the world of work looks like for women in 2025 and beyond. Because just 30 years ago, most women in South Africa couldn't even vote, let alone build teams or companies. Yet here we are today with women that are not just participating, but are shaping and challenging the way we work. Joining me today are remarkable women, Faith Ngobese, a technology strategist and advocate for inclusive innovation, and Mbali Mzinyane, a wellness strategist and life coach and founder of Wellness in the Workplace. So together we'll look at the wins, the frustrations, and the real work that still awaits us ahead. So let's get into it. What does the workplace really look like for women in 2025? And how do we keep driving meaningful change? Ladies. Faith and Mbali, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for
I'm
inviting
excited
us.
about this conversation, actually.
It's an exciting one.
Right?
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
It's how many years now since we've taken, how many years? Are we counting now? 30 plus years?
30 plus,
Sure.
yeah.
30 plus
Yeah.
since women have truly been liberated. There's a big shift in the workplace.
Yes.
And I know this has created tons of new opportunities for women. Now, you being an agent of change, I would
Yes.
imagine your plate is full.
Yes.
With these changes and these shifts,
Yeah.
how are you able to continue being an agent of change
Yeah.
in the tech and digital space?
Yes. Well, first off, I think it's a layered question.
Yeah.
Starting with the fact that being an agent of change, I understand how delicate change is, and it is something that needs to be psychologically handled as well. Most people are scared because they don't know what to be scared of, and they're scared of the unknown.
Yeah.
So the educating and understanding exactly what is happening within tech, what is AI, is it actually taking my job, is it not? That's then where the change and the advocating for it to be to your benefits. I don't think AI is changing your job or taking your job. I think it is elevating and making your job more efficient.
We've seen videos from the factories and their workshops and so forth, and warehouses rather, where we've seen them now, robots carrying boxes, and the dialogue on social media is, the social discourse on social media would be, well, I mean, robots don't ask for sick leave. Robots don't tell us about menstrual cramps. Robots don't fall pregnant and ask for pregnancy leave and maternity leave and all of these things. Robots don't worry about their sick children. They come to work, they do this, they do that. And we're talking about women here, right? And these are the general things where wellness is concerned that a woman would take to HR. You know, I'm pregnant. I need maternity leave, my daughter's sick, I've got to attend this, that, and the other. And if we're looking at statistics, in terms of our households, a lot of them are single mom-led households, right? So, Mbali, to you, in terms of wellness and driving change in wellness and workplace culture, how has that been for you? What challenges do women still face in making workplaces truly inclusive as well as healthy in this digital era that we're living in, and also the deep-seated fear that ngizawuphelela ngumsebenzi, you know?
Yeah. So again, a multi-layered question, right? I think when we talk about inclusion or inclusivity, we need to consider it at an industry or sector level, at an organizational level, and also within a team, right? Because all of those different elements and factors does contribute to how women experience inclusion within the workplace. At an industry level, I mean, it's very much the conversation we're having right now around the change and digital transformation, and understanding that that kind of change is not about replacing, it's about elevating. And also it's about highlighting other important skills within the workplace, like emotional intelligence, sharpening your soft skills. I can't imagine an industry that is client-facing, that is very sales-driven, for example, that would use AI or a robot to handle client interactions where that humanness is actually needed. So for me, the prioritization of AI is a call and an invitation for our humanness to be elevated. We're seeing a lot of, sectors that are still trying to catch up in terms of how they integrate and include women at that level. At an organizational level, then it's about understanding as an organization, what is our strategy? How are we including women at different levels and considering the wellness of women, which are some of the points that you highlighted when we talk about women's health. Because when you come to the workplace, you come as a holistic individual and you consider all of the different elements of your well-being that need to be prioritized within the workplace, right? And so how is your organization taking into consideration your personhood as a woman? What are the policies that are at play that support you if you're a mother, if you need to go on maternity leave, if you're a single mother, if you're a woman who is, driving their career, you want to excel within your career, what are the structures that are there to allow you to progress? But also if you're a woman who's now maybe late in their career and you're looking at retirement or you're menopausal, what are the policies in place that also support you holistically as a woman within the workplace to help ensure that, you recognize for your personhood, but also in doing that, it supports your performance, it supports your productivity. And then lastly, at a team level, what are your colleagues also there doing to support you in your journey? What is wellness like within a specific team? Are we dealing with a manager who understands that, who normalizes conversations around mental well-being, emotional well-being, and where as an individual you're recognized for the different elements and components that contribute to your wellness?
You've highlighted so many human, so many human traits of a woman. Just last week, I had the worst menstrual cramp that I've ever had. Literally, I was crying through my links, right? And this is, obviously, in my industry, there's no cameras in studio, so it's just myself, the microphone, so I can dare to cry. And I'm thinking to myself, had I asked for a day off, a morning off, and not come in today, and I told the truth that my reason is my period, I can't come in because my period has turned against me. It's literally a monster to me. This is my personal experience, and I can imagine many other women have had a similar personal experience. And now you're thinking to yourself, me not clocking in today, am I not going to be an expense to the company? Because there's sponsorships that's pending on my name, and there's clients that are wanting to hear me in that chair, my voice through that microphone. Just maybe let's bring it down to the existence of just being born a woman, being born female. Are we too expensive for companies to employ?
Sure.
What do you think of that dialogue saying, should women just stay unemployed and should they just be housewives? Because when it comes to the economical revenue structure of any business, when you look at male, simple, very, very simple. No pregnancies, no menstrual cycles, no pains, no qualms, no this, soldier, we keep it moving. Female, complex in nature.
Sure.
Just by virtue of your DNA, by virtue of your anatomy. You are complex, just breathing and living. And then link that to the gender pay gap. Are we an expense from a revenue stream perspective for these organizations? Do you think?
So I don't think so, actually.
Yeah.
I think that diversity needs to be then the conversation here, right? If we're talking about inclusion and diversity, it is about understanding the complexities that come with diversity. So even if it is a male-dominated industry or male-dominated environment, there are some differences that you do find within that environment that then add a level of complexity. But it's about then understanding, how do we turn this into something that could be beneficial to us? How do we turn this into something that could make us more progressive and ultimately profitable as a business? And I think that's when then the conversation around innovation then comes into play. Because when I think about, the complex issues that you've highlighted from a women's perspective, for me as a business, I'm thinking about how do we use that to our advantage? If you are, for example, in the fast consumer manufacturing goods industry, how do we maybe look at that as an opportunity to come up with a product that addresses something like that? How do we look at solutions that also show that we are in support of inclusion of women, that women, because of them occupying spaces and roles within the workplace, do add a level of productivity and performance and diversity that makes us profitable as a business. So it isn't a good idea to completely exclude them, because they do bring in a level of emotional intelligence, they do bring in a level of authentic leadership, and also creativity, creative capacity that a man might typically overlook. And they also bring in some of those softer skills. And soft skills does not mean it is lesser than. It's actually of equal value in the kind of world that we're working in. They typically say that people hire for hard skills, but they promote you for soft skills. And soft skills are usually things that, women are naturally inclined to do and inclined to have. So that empathy, the compassion, contextualizing issues, considering difference of opinion, holding space for different people, that is the kind of environment that people actually thrive in when it comes into the world of work. So you don't look at women as an expense, you look at them as an asset.
I think that Mbali speaking, I want to make Mbali for president, right? But ideally, what's happening compared to what we wish, which is, I think, is what Mbali speaking ideally, being in a deep corporate and being a strategist, it's still so much to go. With regards to this topic, I think that touching on what you touched on, Dineo, excuse me,
no worries.
Your period. I was on an extremely demanding piece that had us in the office every day. And I recall my period starting while we're in the boardroom, and the idea of my leads saying, oh, today it's a long night, we here until 9. And I'm just like, I might just leak into this chair. And I say this, and I'm happy that you were explicit, because it's what we need. As someone who's still transitioning into more leadership roles in my role, there are so many men who are still comfortable with how corporate has designed corporate for men.
For men,
This whole thing of we pushing hard, we're going hard, it's because one has never factored this person might need to get up to change their tampon or pad. This person might actually need a leg stretch or a nap. So as ideal as that is, it is extremely hard when you're in the moment to, one, vocalize without the fear of just being seen as not performing how you're meant to be performing. And then 2, also vocalizing it in a room where you are a minority. Already you think of yourself as, I'm lucky to be here. Now I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up and say, we let you in, and now you're telling us about stuff like, what must we do?
Now you're holding us back.
Exactly. And I think
you're dead weight on the boat. Come on.
And what you said is, so in consulting, you are billable by the hour. So now if you are someone who is taking longer on maybe menstrual pains or whatnot, essentially then a woman is more expensive. She's taking more days, she's sleeping more. So I think that it's not necessarily about, oh, women are more expensive or more difficult. It's just that the structure inherently is not one that is structured to accommodate, support ladies. And I never saw the value of this until I started seeing it. I always thought, oh no, it's a bit of airy-fairy. A passion of mine has always been women advocacy. One of my majors was gender studies and understanding the historical lenses, why we got there. But seeing it in effect is what got me excited to have this conversation, because I think so many people need Mbali, so many execs need Mbalis, right? But also just the reality of the conversation we're having is that it's not easy, and it's something that is there currently. There's ladies who won't get staffed on projects that are demanding because you're going to tell me your kid has to be picked up at 2 and we can't have that because client's going to be on us. That is still a reality in this day and age, very much so.
When a man gets married, it's so exciting to the company. He can now be seen for executive leadership positions, like he's earmarked, like, okay, so now you've taken on a big personal responsibility, marriage, you're a head of a household, you're this, you're that, stability, A, B, C, D, and E. Now we see you're going to have a wife, meaning you've got a matrimonial PA there, a spiritual PA, so your support structure is thick and heavy.
Solid.
We like you, we've got our eye on you. A woman gets married.
Worst things happen.
Worst thing to happen. Sorry, your husband's going to be hungry. Who's going to cook for your husband? Sorry, your kids are going to need you. Who's going to kick? So for a man, marriage becomes, you know, like an asset. Yes. For a woman, it becomes a liability. Have you experienced any such challenges or worked with such women that have, you know, maybe whispered in your ear to say, I can't believe, like 3 months ago I got married and that's just caused so many problems in my journey moving up. And also if you can share your personal stories, even if it's outside of marriage, of advancing yourself in the corporate space and anything you might have experienced.
Sure. So, I mean, for me, the work that I'm doing right now as a result of my corporate experience, right? A culmination of different experiences that made me realize that it is very unsustainable if I continue to go on the way that I was going on if I don't prioritize
How
my
were you
wellness.
going on?
And that's what I want to talk about here.
Yes, girl, Ty, talk about it.
Yeah, so what I realized that, you know, because of the structures that are in place and also the environment that I was in at the time, the approach to working and working hard was the thing that was going to get me ahead, right? So working long hours, always, you know, raising your hand for projects, always showing this proactive stance, which are all good qualities, but only to an end, right? Because what then happens is that becomes your way of life in the world of work. It becomes an expectation also for the people that are around you, that Mbali is always going to be the person that, you know, stays long or works late or doesn't need additional support because she looks like she's doing fine. And so for me at that stage, it quickly indicated that if I had a child at the time, if I was married at that time, then it would have been more of an impediment rather than something that's going to help me and help me advance within the environment that I was in. I worked so much and worked so hard to the point of burnout. I was physically burnt out, mentally, emotionally. I recall actually during that time needing time off because I needed to recoup. But if you've been experiencing burnout for a prolonged period of time, it means that you've been operating at high levels of stress. It means that you've been overworking yourself. It means that you haven't been taking time for rest and recovery. So a week off work is not going to help you.
No,
a week off, a weekend off with time away for a weekend, it won't help you. You need to literally take time and not work.
You have to unplug.
You have to
unplug from the source.
From the source, completely, completely. But I didn't know at the time. And so towards the end of my time in corporate, I ended up just moving around between companies, right? My last stint, I mean, I was there for about 6 months. And towards the end, that's when I had the realization that this is because I am not healthy. It is because I am not well.
Can I ask you to,
yes,
if you may, I don't mean to interrupt you, if you may paint a picture to somebody who might be who's watching and might be experiencing burnout, but they don't know they are because they don't know what it looks like. What did burnout look like for you? Because for me, burnout looked like suicidal thoughts, depression, and ultimately being fired from work. Because I wasn't coming to the party of truth to say, girl, you're not breathing. You're not made to breathe underwater. And I was now deep sunken underwater. Personal affairs, divorce was taking its toll on me. Professional affairs were taking its toll on me, changing from one company to the other. And, you know, going from a safe zone to a very unsafe zone where you feel like there's hostility, there's this, there's that, and you're trying to people please and it's not working. The more you try, the more it works against you. And obviously, socially, you've got terrible habits that you need to come to truth to say from a personal perspective, I could be doing better in terms of how I'm looking after myself and so forth. So mine was literally suicidal thoughts, depression, and being admitted, losing my job. What did burnout look like for you?
So for me, it was having a very apathetic outlook on a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
More especially my job. I think at the time I was like, if I don't like this company, I can just leave and go to the next job. So there wasn't that long-term thinking, long-term investment as well into saying I want to grow my career, which had been my strategy from day one and was part of my career plan. So just this sense of hopelessness and almost despair around what was happening. A very prolonged state of mental fatigue, which looked like brain fog. So not being able to process my thoughts very well and very quickly and articulate forgetfulness, exactly. That was part of it. And also just in my speech as well, because if you're not processing your thoughts well enough, then your speech also becomes affected because, you know, you're not speaking as clearly and as articulately as you should be. It also meant just not being able to connect with the people that were around me, specifically at work, you know, because I was on reserve at that time. So I couldn't extend myself towards my community or building very strong relationships in the last 2 jobs that I was in. And, you know, it's only in hindsight now that I realized that that was somebody that was operating at reserve. I did not have anything to give to the environments that I found myself in. And because of that, it affected then, you know, how I showed up within the workplace. Surprisingly, in terms of my deliverables, you know, I was still quite high functioning on that front, because I realized that, you know, if I don't deliver, it's going to be, you know, a very negative outlook on my reputation. And I was very mindful of that. And also another point around being high functioning is that you're very good at masking these things, right? You mask so well that people won't even believe you if you tell them, guys, I'm actually struggling. I am not okay on the inside.
Because you're like presenting to be so well put together.
Yes.
You're presenting to be so strong.
Yes.
But you know, back at the ranch, and it's not even back at the ranch like back at home, but like back in the mental ranch.
Yeah.
You're a mess.
You're a mess. Yeah. You're a mess.
And you know that truth about yourself.
Yeah. So it looked like that for me. And it took me making a decision to say that I'm actually going to take time to step away from corporate for a number of reasons. I mean, at the time I was in a fortunate position to be able to do that. And so it has taken time for me to also just recover and to get to a place where I'm using this insight now as something that helps empower other people.
Do you guys know Akeso, the mental...
Yes, that's where I was admitted, in Pretoria.
So majority of Akeso patients are high performers who have just been in denial of I'm in burnout.
Guys, I was not alone. This is insane. I thought I was...
So, most of the top performers and top companies, that's where you'll find some of their employees. It's the push, right? And to add another lens to what Mbali's saying, it's the intersectional push when you start then looking at Black women. Already, siyabegezela, and we hard and we have to and we push and whatnot. There's a layer of... even when it's hard, you push harder because 1, I can't let down my people. 2, I have a village to feed or something. 3, my time and ability to even make it into this room makes it hard for me to even fathom wanting to step out of this room to take care of myself.
I'm not allowed to have any broken bones.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's a thing of constant check-ins. I think communities also help you. Your communities
100%.
check in on like, dude, you've been going hard. Like, this is not sustainable. So I do think that there's also that layer and that phase of burnout, of denial, where you're still going, even if you shouldn't be.
This is such a reality.
Yeah, such a harsh one, but a much needed one. Not to jump to your first question, I was so excited to hear about that because I'm seeing it all play out, and I am more so middle level in my career. Started off as a grad, so have seen all the transitions. There was a gentleman who is around my age who decided to get married. talk of the whole floor. Everyone's so excited. Oh, for this instance, let's call him Ben. Ben's getting married. How's the wedding
I
going?
like the name
How's the
Ben.
wife? Yeah. How's the wife? Oh my goodness. And it's just a unifier, right?
Yeah.
It almost becomes
He has this instant community that he belongs to.
An induction to the boys' club to some degree, right?
Sure.
To be like, oh, now you got it. Because one, you don't have to cook your own meals anymore. You're going to come here, ready for the day. You are also someone who will be well kept in a way that you can now focus on work and get to the nitty-gritty.
Give us what we need from you.
Now it becomes twofold, right? I have seen, and I can confidently say that I am desirable in my workspace because I am childless and not married. That is like someone, I can take her through the ringer. There's no, she needs to go home for A, B, C, D. This person, their identity is this. And I'm someone who's very social and who taps into their community. So for me, as much as maybe I'm not pouring into that currently, there's other areas of my life that still need pouring into.
100%.
But those don't stand the same weight. I have had moments where I'm like, no, I'm picking up my friend from somewhere, I need to leave, and that's not valid enough as I need to pick up my kid from somewhere, you know?
Sure.
So it's almost the nuance of understanding currently how well I'm doing, how I am seen is because I am not married and I'm childless.
So it's not just a corporate rumor. It's an actual reality.
Lived experience.
Yeah. And I also thought these were just books. And then I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in it. I'm in the matrix. I'm in the matrix currently. It's happening.
That is insane. So when you came back to self and when you came back to your energy, your optimum, after your burnout season, respectfully, you decided, I'm good. I'm going to be independent. How did you then, in your independence, position yourself to be seen and heard? Better seen, better heard in the workplace, with your clients and yourself as well. How do you position yourself? Because, you know, there's a change that comes with the light after the darkness of burnout. It's almost like a veil is lifted. And I speak for myself. When I came back to myself after the veil was lifted after my burnout and my little stint at a Keso, I can't believe you mentioned that stat. That it's for majority is high-performing people. Because I punish myself work-wise, hey? Punish myself all the way into burnout. So how do you then reposition yourself to be better seen, better heard, respected, and not because you're a woman, but because you know there is value to you?
Sure.
To anyone who's watching,
Yeah.
who might also be in the process of coming back to self and coming back into the workplace after a burnout session, there's eyes on you almost like, and specifically when you're female, you're seen as an individual with shortcomings now. Are you going to lose your mind again? Are you going to need to be
fragile.
admitted again? You're fragile.
Yeah.
How do you shake off the, listen, guys, don't treat me with kid gloves.
Yeah.
You can still hear me, you can still see me, and I'm still a force to be reckoned with.
Sure. So a lot of the process of coming back to self is a lot of inner work, right? So a confrontation of self, understanding what are the limitations in my thinking that contributed to me operating in the way that I was operating before. Because when you're operating from a place of, I need to do this, I need to go after this opportunity, I need to raise my hand for this project, and I need to work late hours, that's a space of operating from fear. That's a space of operating from a place of, I am not secure in this environment that I am in, and I am not even secure in myself and what I bring to this environment. And so because of that, I now operate at a level that is unsustainable, that will bring me to a breaking point. So it's unpacking all of that and recognizing that I was operating from a place of fear. And going forward, that needs to change. I need to operate from a place of empowerment. So knowing myself, knowing that these are my strengths, this is what I bring to the table, these are my skill sets, being very resolute in your boundaries as well, and being very clear and communicating that. So to the conversation around being seen and being heard, it is about identifying and establishing those boundaries, being consistent in enforcing them, and also holding yourself to that standard, right? But also communicating that to your people. So when you reintegrate, and I call that a process of reintegration, right? Whether it's in the workplace, in your family, in your community, you reintegrating and you reintroducing yourself to this community, to this workplace, and to your people. And you're doing it from a place of clarity. You're doing it from a place of intention as well, to say, guys, this is what I am trying to achieve. These are the boundaries and parameters that I'm going to operate in order to achieve that. And this is how I expect support from you to be able to do that.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds to me where you are right now, like every morning you wake up, your nervous system
Is
thanks
calm.
you.
Yes. Yes.
You present that way.
Yes.
It's also,
And
you
I
can
like-
feel the energy of a person who's done
Yes,
inner work.
yes. And I almost am excited of the duality or the difference between Mbali and I. And
Yeah.
I'm not to say that I haven't done inner work and so forth, but I'm in a space of corporate and still high performing and, you know, one that has to be to the system to some degree.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And it's nice to see that,
yes,
actually.
Yes, yes.
I can imagine for a viewer looking and saying, this is where I fit in. Because there's
Yeah.
many women that are still in a corporate setting and
Yeah.
they have to fit into the system.
Yeah.
And there's many women that have liberated themselves in that respectful regard to say, well, I've chosen the independent route, and in the independent route, I fit in over there.
Yeah. So shout out to you guys for picking us so well. I think it's a
It's
beautiful
beautiful,
one.
yeah.
Yes, because also just interestingly enough, Mbali and I do know each other outside of this through some mutual circles and mutual
that's
people.
nice.
So it is one conversation that I've understood to know how important it is, right?
Yeah.
But within that, I think knowing and hearing, Mbali has spoken at one of our events. She's so amazing. And hearing some of the key takings, how does one successfully implement that still in their corporate job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Without having almost the full autonomy to be able to decide on how it moves.
Yeah.
It is scary. I think that that's one thing to not take away from it. It is a very scary thing to do. I think that a lot of ladies may shy away from it should they be more older. And I say this because I've seen quite an energy change in Gen Zs, right? We had a lady that decided, I'm not going to do this anymore.
And Gen Zs, they pack their bags.
Yeah, they pack their bags.
They pack their bags. Like they literally
Always
will
choose
send you
themselves.
a resignation note now.
Yes, and I'm part of Gen Z, but not to like the
Are you
younger.
Gen Z? Guys, how old am
shouldn't have
I? This
have
is
said it.
nonsense. What is this? I feel like now
Oh, my
you shouldn't have
goodness.
said that. I feel like I'm hanging out with my niece. What is this? Okay, that's cool though. That's cool.
So there is a degree of how much self-autonomy a Gen Z needs. And there's a stat that shows on the fact that we are 60% more likely to stay in a job if we feel like our self-value is being increased.
Sure.
And
This
that
is
is
true.
not the case with the older generations, right? So it is also important from a leadership lens to understand the workforce that you are now retaining into your business is not one that will stand for the same stuff older people did, right? And it's also a
I
thing
feel like I want to ring a bell.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ding,
it's
ding.
also a thing of, I have challenged a few things where I know, Faith, you might just lose this job. But hey, you know, at least I said my piece. Like, that's all is my... And I'm like,
You
what's
are
going to
so
pay
black,
these bills?
at least. Bottom line is at least.
Oh, yes.
That's so funny.
But yes, so I do think that when I do voice the moments I'm fighting for myself, I do have to psych myself up because it's still scary.
Yeah.
Because you don't see it get done so much, right?
Yeah.
But what I do realize is you are treated as much as you allow people to treat you.
100%. 100%.
And so now I have hard stops. There was a time I wasn't seeing the sun. Like I was like, how am I getting away from my PC when it's nighttime? The sun hasn't touched my skin. So I have slots in my calendar where it's sun time. Actively get up, go, let the sun touch you.
Vitamin
That is
D.
so wild
Yeah.
because I've got time in my calendar where I have to stop and express gratitude. Like in the moment, in like anything, like now we stop and we're going to say something that we're thankful for. Because you know what I picked up? Like your sun, you not being exposed to the sun. When I'm not exposed to a moment of gratitude, my mind easily goes to complaining.
Sure.
Easily, quickly spirals into everything frustrating in my day. And I literally have to stop. And I like that. I think I'm going to put the sun in my calendar.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
nice.
And to your point, I remember a psychologist once said complaining is addictive.
Very, it's like
so
anger.
try stop yourself from like the second or the third. I understand we all need, oh my goodness, traffic or whatever. But by the third, I think it's such a ripple effect. Like, oh my goodness, I'm late. My makeup isn't okay. Oh my gosh, today is running crazy. Like it can go on.
It's so continuous. It's like making I'm tired as a mantra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even when you're not tired, like, but you're not tired.
Yeah.
Did
You
your body
conditioned yourself
say
now. Yeah.
you've conditioned? I like it. We're sitting here, females, women, we're getting along. And we're laughing and we're sharing a beautiful, genuine moment. But sometimes in the workplace, it's not always like that. Sometimes women can be very catty. And we don't generally call a spade when it comes to women being catty. Is the pull her down syndrome crabs in a bucket? Because it does happen.
It does.
Is it a real thing? Is it, have you experienced it? Have you observed it? Do women really pull each other down by the heels, by the red bottoms as they're watching each other climb the corporate ladder? Is it that rife? Is it that vile? And is it that volatile?
It's a pandemic.
That's
I
how
would
bad
call
it
it
is?
that, right? The idea around, having a scarcity mindset. And I think that's very much related to the context that we're in as a country, the context that we're in also as a woman, that we previously were not, participants in the labor market. And so, when we got into the labor market, it was only a few who was able to get in, and only a few who was then later, selected to move up the ranks. And so those who then get up the ranks want to gatekeep that position, or those positions.
And that's scarcity.
And that scarcity
It's
mindset.
such a fixed
Exactly.
mindset. It's so far removed from anything to do with growth mindset.
100%. So it's a very fixed mindset, and it's a mindset also not understanding the limitations again around what you do to yourself and to your community when you do gatekeep, right? And also some of the things that really come up in that book is around insecurities, and that can manifest in different ways. So I'm using that, example as a preamble to answer this question because it is so rife. And, personally, what I have experienced within the workplace is workplace bullying, both from men and women. And part
Doesn't
of
it
that
hurt more when it comes from a woman?
Oh, it is painful. It is painful. And it comes out in different ways, right? It comes out through isolation. It comes out through snarky comments, whether it's somebody making comments about how you speak, how you dress, people leaving you off meetings.
Leaving you off emails and saying, oh, sorry, it was a
I
mistake.
forgot, but being very intentional in terms of how they strategize around making you feel like, you don't belong, or making you feel inadequate, or making you feel incompetent. And those are different ways to try and get at your sense of self, get at your self-esteem, and make you really question if whether or not you can do this. And for me, people who intentionally do that are quite calculated and strategic in why they're doing that. So if they notice that, maybe Dineo is very sharp, or Dineo has, this untapped in potential or personality that is very different to what I have, and there's something of of value that I recognize in her that I might not have. Let me try to find different ways to demean that or undermine it so that there's a sense of self-doubt that is instilled within them. So it's a very strategic, it's narcissistic.
I think that cool. So it does exist, right? But I also think the other part of your question was the part about how do you ensure that we change, right? And how do we ensure that it's different?
The baton constantly has to be passed on. Life is an ongoing relay race. Every time somebody gets up from this chair, somebody else is going to come in and sit in this chair. When I switch off this microphone, somebody else is going to come and switch on this microphone. It's such a big conversation. How do you position yourself to better pass on the baton?
And I don't even think it's passing on the baton. I think it is widening the room. I think as much as you've said someone else is going to sit in your chair, I think why don't we get another chair and someone else is next to you? Right? I think it's a thing of understanding. It's not one for one, next, this one. It's a thing of, okay, let's all come in, especially with some of the mentors that I'm so privileged to have. One of them being Faranduli. It's something that I see her do constantly, that no, this opportunity, you can have it. Like, it's not a thing of I must take every single opportunity that gets passed down or gets to me. I also do think that now putting on my change management hats, the best transition happen if the person also has been in that state with you for some time, right? So that can only happen if you are training people for your job when you are still in that job. When I walk into a boardroom, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people can't do that I will be able to do. So that means I should be secure in understanding that no one will replace me. There will be someone who will be able to achieve similar things, but do it in their unique way that is so beautiful and gifted for how they do stuff. So I mustn't try mold people to be me, and I mustn't try mold myself to be someone else. But to understand that we could both be there because there's thinking and there's different lenses we have to bring to the table. And touching on what Mbali said earlier on, the creativity and just the amount of power that gets given to an organization when it's diverse is something to also think about. So it's more so how many people can we let in while we're in instead of before we go out.
Such a healthy perspective. Such a healthy perspective.
Make the circle bigger.
Make the circle bigger. I do like that perspective. There are certain tools that and skills that can be a one-size-fits-all to thrive and survive in life.
If I be more specific, Black women aren't toning into as much as they should, which is one, being able to self-advocate. Being able to say, I do A, B, C, and I do it well. A lot of Black ladies or women just as a whole do great stuff, but they don't articulate it and they don't showcase it, and they wait for someone else to. And that someone else isn't coming in. This is
humility.
But why? The main thing, walk into a room like you a white man. That's the best thing you can do for yourself.
There's no place on Earth. Listen, you can count Pluto, Mars, Venus, you name the planets. There is no planet on Earth that likes to humble a specific human being like planet Earth, and that specific human being is a woman.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. When we think of our intersectional lens, I think that's the main thing, because one, you're a woman, then two, it's all these other stuff that you come with. But I think the main thing is women don't know how to advocate for themselves. And they see that as being cocky, arrogant, full of herself. No, it's being sure of what you output. And also, I touched on this before in other conversations, but like the people that you normally label as people who are so full of themselves or they think they're better than, those are people in good positions.
This is true.
How did they get there if they didn't think like that?
But it's also people who know themselves well, right?
And are brave enough to put themselves in spaces because they've been able to advocate for themselves.
It's like you're your own best billboard.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's why you will only take me as seriously as I take myself.
100%.
So there's a certain level of amounts of things I require and I output in order to be taken very seriously. And it's as small as, I'm not saying you should put on makeup, but look presentable, look like someone who you know you're with. And it's small stuff like this where it's like, no, as long as my output is good. No, it's not about that.
It's the whole package.
Yes, and don't wait for someone else to advocate for it. Two, I think that a lot of people define and determine their plan based on their environments. You should have your own plan. You should career plan. Specifically so, that's a skill that you should be able to have and constantly evolve and edit.
Can AI help us with that?
Absolutely. That's the baseline. I did a workshop on that.
course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love your thinking when I sharp. So yeah, I think that's the other thing. And then lastly, I think we could go into so many things, but I also think there's adaptability.
Yes.
Very key. In an ever-changing world, the last thing you could do for yourself is be stuck to one way. That's the worst thing you could do for yourself. And I'm in a space where I'm working with different members and different leads in each project. So I understand the thing of not gravitating or tying to one person, but rather being able to understand what value do I bring, how fast can I mold into a room to be able to work with these people, so that you're not scared, right? So that then now you're not this thing of they're going to take my job, or all the stuff that we were talking about earlier on. If you become adaptable, and this can only be done if you are comfortable and train yourself to go to spaces you're not used to. That touches on networking, but I think that's another conversation. But yes,
100%.
yeah.
Lastly, I know we're talking about women, so please don't crucify me when I bring the men in.
Yes.
They have to be in.
They have to be in, right? They have to be in,
to.
because we're not designed for isolation and to be just alone. What are the ways in which we can bring men along and others to help overcome some of the remaining challenges that women face?
I think, and I'm sure you've noticed, I love mentioning people because I love mentioning and giving people's flowers while I have them.
I love that also.
So one of my main bosses, Yossi, at work, he, I think, is what it is the epitome of being a sponsor, of being a Black woman in corporates. Someone who's able to leverage their privilege for you to grow. And that's what men should be doing. This man was able to tell me I'm ready to speak to CIOs when I was like, what do you mean? I'm just a baby. But being able to grow someone, being able to not be the one that says, you prepare the work and I'll speak. But just a thing of, okay, you did the work. You can speak to the work. Are you ready for this? You do this. I can help you. I can support you when needed. I think it's a thing of being able to be the support.
So I think for me, there is a level of education that needs to happen where men are concerned, right? And I think the narrative, specifically on social media, has been, oh, you have Google, you need to do the research yourself. But I think as women, there's also a bit of a responsibility to bring them in. Obviously, to a certain extent, because then it becomes complacency. But for men who are willing to learn, for men who are willing to really understand the crux of some of our issues and the complexities that we face as women, there needs to be that space to educate them and to invite them in. And I think in that process of education, I think there should also be a space that we hold for certain men who are actively doing the work and willing to unlearn that unconscious bias, because a lot of them are operating from that place, believe it or not. And it's very difficult for them to just really, lift their heads out of that and to see things from a different perspective, especially because they are beneficiaries of a certain kind of privilege. And so there needs to be that space for grace, and especially for men who are really committed to doing the work. I think we do have the responsibility to some extent as women to do the education.
I loved this. I loved every single thing about this. I loved how it started. I loved how it grew. And I love how it's now saying, we have had a chat, a very deep, meaningful chat. I just want you to remember that change doesn't always start big. Change just sometimes starts with a Okay, well, that's big. Like a burnout is big. Don't wait till burnout for your change
Let's
to
say
start.
touching the sun and the gratitude. That's change.
Change can start with gratitude and touching the sun, or letting the sun touch you. And when you prioritize those little pockets and those little special and precious moments, in that split second or in those 10 minutes, something can be downloaded and something can land, and your perception, attitude, and it can change so vastly that your entire trajectory in your corporate journey might change. Ladies, what a beautiful conversation. Like, I literally enjoyed every beat of it. And thank you so much, Faith and Mbali. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming to debrief,
Yes.
you know, and unpack.
Unpack and repack, yes.
100%, 100%. And thank you for watching. Thank you very much for tuning into Metro FM Off Air. We are coming to you from Empower Works House, and very beautiful facility. We have been so well looked after here. And thank you for watching. Don't forget that change doesn't have to start big, all right? For all your works, be empowered. We love you. Goodbye.